consultation for your individual health profile or your community health profile, or follow us at Chickaro Martin on Twitter and Facebook.
Let's be beyond sports and fitness.
Yes. Hello, Chickaro. I'm glad to be here today. Today's Beyond Sports and Fitness segment takes us to the West Coast, and the college is located in California. And I will be talking about the payment of athletes and what it means to retain value as a professional or an amateur athlete.
Awesome. Well, we both have two different perspectives. We're trying to merge, the ex-athlete and having things, being an ex-athlete and having a perspective of the collegiate level. I just have a different take on things, and I think Knight, and as things are evolving and changing, Knight is definitely going to bring a different perspective. And we just wanted to kind of create and start some dialogue around, the perspective of athletes, post-athletics, and also during athletics, more in high school and college, and what's happening in that space. As an ex-athlete, I, really look at far as the identity and how athletes look at themselves. How do they value themselves during athletics and then post-athletics? And I found that it was a challenge to kind of really find your footing or really identify yourself and really capture your value post-athletics. So I just wanted to hear what you have to say, Knight, about what athletes are thinking and what's going into certain at this certain time. As you mentioned, new policy is happening in California. What's your take on things as it pertains to athletes and athletes getting paid on a collegiate level?
Yes, as far as athletes getting paid at the collegiate level, many people on the opposing side who are against the new bills being passed and the new legislation written in California say that there have been scholarships, financial aid given to students, which would serve as their compensation or their payment. But with sports evolving and growing, profiting more, and the breaking high numbers, in the last decade, athletes think their value is being overlooked, and they think a lot of their value is being, given to the coaches or the school directly rather than, the athlete.
Absolutely.
So
that whole
in California,
so around that concept of amateur athletes, and it's kind of going should be thrown out the window. You're saying it should be thrown out the window because of the monetary value of the athletes and what they bring to the institutions, and the compensation that the coaches and everybody involved are getting compensated, but the only person not getting compensated are those that are generating those funds. So are you finding young athletes to be frustrated with that concept, or do you think it's more people like myself, ex-athletes, or people in different arenas, or are you hearing that from young athletes as well?
Well, there are multiple ways athletes are generating revenue. They can do, like ads. They can cut deals with entities through their social media. But as far as them being paid, some athletes say they're working as much as a full-time job, and they could be doing a lot of other things, generating money when they're not at practice or at team meetings. But since that is taking up a lot of their time, they feel like they're missing out on opportunities to make money, even with their scholarship that, are given to athletes on all levels.
So So
and when everybody around you is profiting.
So at this time, I wasn't aware of that. So basically, at this time, collegiate athletes are able to monetize their social media. They're allowed to monetize that and get paid, compensated for that, or are you saying in the future that should be an avenue for them to get paid?
I'm saying with their social media, if they have a social media page, there can be ads placed on their social media,
okay.
or they can promote, promote brands and different things, and they would be getting paid as far as with marketable, clothing and stuff to wear on their page. So they still get free stuff, a form of compensation, but it's not a direct dollar value. They can't profit it off their name or their...
Okay, so they can get endorsements of some kind, but they can't get a monetary value. So they won't get paid for that, for being advertised on their social media. They can only get free stuff or sponsored without a monetary. Okay, I didn't know that. So that's, again, providing a platform for these brands to market themselves, again, leveraging the student athlete, correct?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, I mean, that totally shoots down the argument of the NCAA making the preposterous statement that they have no value in the market. And I think that's why I have a passion around, I developed the concept around the health architect, because I see tremendous value in the marketplace for athletes, current athletes and post-athletes. I think, participating in athletics, it does teach you the value of teamwork, consistency, dedication, and just how to be resourceful, and that mental toughness. You definitely get that, and I believe taking that same type of energy, that same type of mindset, and the values that you acquire through athletics, especially on the collegiate level, I think our community as a whole could definitely benefit from that. So that's why I've kind of transitioned from, being perceived and conducting myself as an athlete, but more as a post-athlete, and then developing the term the health architect through different business ventures and the ways in which I develop and design programs. I was able to kind of derive some of those programs from what I learned through athletics, but also take that value and engage the broader community.
Yeah. And one of the important things that go right along with athletics is staying healthy, keeping your mind and body fit, and with athletes potentially being able to be paid per game or based on how much they participate or what value they bring to a team, it could incentivize some athletes or players on a team to, play as much as possible or maximize their performance. But I would advise current athletes to think about still their health and potential injuries and notify, the correct people if they ever experience any decrease in their performance or injury that is holding them back. They would not want to fight through just because of the available profit that they may gain. In the long run, it could hurt an athlete rather than help an athlete, chasing just after monetary value.
Wow. Yeah, so I think we're in an interesting time now, and I think there's tremendous opportunity for athletes, post-athletes, as far as ex-athletes myself, to kind of learn from the new, from the current athletes, and kind of help bridge that gap in reference to really having, gaining some perspective on the the industry as a whole, and then post what their vision is, what their career should, how should they be shaping and establishing their perspective. It's a fast-changing industry. Things are changing dramatically. I think in the next 2 to 3 years, we'll have different offshoots of different type of programs that will not require athletes to participate on the collegiate level, but also get that visibility in some of the training, different leagues that I see evolving, maybe internationally, as well as some offshoots. So I think athletes currently in high school and even college should start looking at how do they maximize their value as athletes on the collegiate level, and also how do they see maximizing or leveraging their current talents for opportunities post-athletics. As I mentioned, and I talked to different business leaders and different experts in the industry or industries that relate to it, they're definitely aware that there's a paradigm shift that's emerging around business and society as a whole. And I think people see that tremendous opportunity to engage in athletes. I read something the other day. Most Fortune 500 women CEOs are ex-athletes. So the business arena is definitely looking to tap into that for leadership, from a leadership perspective. And as athletes become more socially conscious and more socially involved, I think athletes and ex-athletes becoming more civic-oriented and really kind of engaged in their community, I think, it's a tremendous benefit, and I think the business community is taking notice and really appreciate those athletes that are really kind of giving back to their community.
Yes. And with current athletes, I mentioned the big part social media is starting to play with branding oneself. So after an athlete makes it on a team, their name is known. They have a solid following on social media. They can brand themselves to voice their ideas on athletics and other topics. They can promote their own business. They can promote other businesses. They can promote their school, all through the utilization of social media and their following that they would get from being a star athlete or someone people would look up to in the community or at their school.
Right. Well, Knight, I know your aspirations are to be an agent, a coach, a supporter of athletes as they define and shape their careers. I think I'm looking forward to your growth and know you as an individual and know you're a person of integrity. I look forward to the evolution of the industry, and as you evolve as an advisor to some of the up-and-coming athletes, I'm really excited to see what happens and what you do in the future. A lot of people listening, some of our family know that we're actually relatives, and I'm really excited about that. One, I think athletes play a big role not only in their community but in their families. But often athletes lack direction, perspective, vision, and I believe we all need a coach, a mentor, an advisor, and with that clear perspective and that coaching and mentorship, I think athletes can be tremendous influencers not just with the broader community, but within their families and strengthening their families. Because that's often the reason why they get into athletes, to hopefully take it to the next level and do things to kind of help their family. But I think on an immediate front, in the more immediate future, I think they can definitely shape and cultivate their perspective to make some immediate impacts in reference to how they influence and how they move to help encourage their family to work more collectively, support one another in their ventures. Often athletes, they work hard. It's a lot. They work hard. They train hard. It's a lot of pressure on them, and they often need that family support. But sometimes it's hard for family to provide that support when they don't have a clear direction. When the athlete is not providing a clear direction. We all know that they're playing athletics, but it's more to it. It's more to it. And I think with mentorship and advisors, genuine advisors, helping them shape that and develop their brand, if you will, it can help not only them, but those around them that are willing to support and to be that support system for them. So I'm really excited, and I think you will be a great mentor or coach for those that are seeking genuine and thoughtful direction.
Well, I appreciate that, and for you and me, just you being an ex-athlete, me doing sports in high school and being interested in sports in college. Also, we have family members that, play different athletics and are in different activities. It is important to bring team building, back home and actually learn something from athletics and from the sport or craft that you're spending a lot of time doing. And the athletic community, just like any community, needs the support of those members. So as athletes, do their own research, adjust the changing climate and get settled and understand what approach they want to collectively take, then the spokesman within that community and, like myself, people who follow athletics will be able to give a more helping hand to current athletes and the athletes of the future.
Absolutely. We often see a lot of things that you have, like LeBron James, is really socially conscious and involved in the community. You even see Stephen Kerr has really gotten involved, and I understand that he'll be working with the ex-president, on some different mentor programs. And I don't think there's ever been a point in our history where athletes were as active. And I'm not necessarily saying you have to be a social justice warrior necessarily, but I think as far as we all have a civic duty to kind of, if it's reading in a library for little kids or even to the elderly, helping them on walks, if it's cleaning neighborhood cleanups, if it's leading a walk or run in your neighborhood to kind of help promote health and wellness in your community. I think just being civically engaged and volunteering your time to make your community and your country a better place, or your world a better place, I think is definitely moving in the right direction. And I'm excited to see how people, different athletes, kind of engage the broader community and tap into some of those social inequities that strengthen us all as they engage and bring some of their leadership skills to the community.
Absolutely. And with players vocalizing their wants and their needs, wanting to be paid instead of going overseas and bringing their talent somewhere where they think they can get paid quicker or where they will be valued more. You know, if athletes were able to be paid, those athletes would stay right here in the United States, graduate from universities and college in the U.S. and, you know, bring their talents and their views home rather than take them away. So it all plays a part, and now is a better time than ever to be vocal and you know, start voicing your opinion. There's so many outlets, there's so many different people listening, so many ways to get your views out there, and those are at the fingertips of athletes.
Absolutely, absolutely. As you said, there's a lot of opinions and perspectives, and there's ways to get your views out there. And what I plan to do with this podcast is to help provide some direction, provide some insight. And insight in that direction will be organized around activities and events that I'll be hosting in the near future, inviting talent leaderships from around the country to help promote leadership, civic responsibility, and also helping build healthy communities. As we started the podcast, this is the Health Architect, and what I do is design community wellness programs for individuals, communities, and cities. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that. I'll be talking a little bit more about that. But, you know, I just wanted to first kind of engage you all with a little insight on my perspective and why we started this podcast and what's important to us and what we think is important to a lot of people out there. And it's around sports. America is huge around sports. It's a part of our culture. It's the fabric of our identity. And I think it's time to embrace that fully and cultivate a better perspective around athletes. One of the biggest things, too, I think that really hit me, it was I didn't know that there are negative perspectives out there around athletes, and I didn't know that they were as common as they are. And being an ex-athlete and becoming aware that through different experiences, I was just surprised. So that was another thing that definitely kind of changed my perspective, and I tried to see, like, what am I doing now? How can I merge? Well, basically, who what's a part of, it's a part of me, and how do I merge the two? And then also having younger cousins and nephews that are engaged in sports and doing pretty well and becoming very successful on the collegiate level and some pro athletes now. I kind of unfortunately was disengaged and wasn't able to provide some of the insight that I would have liked to. With some I did, some a little, and some not so much. And I regret that in the sense that with guidance and with a little insight, they may have made better better decisions, and it would have been able to kind of leverage certain opportunities that was presented that they weren't necessarily aware of. And it's hard. It's a challenge when you're in the thick of things, and it's hard to see beyond the trees when you're in the thick of things. I think it's very important, again, to kind of really cultivate that relationships with your family, friends, and extended community, because, often the people you grow up with know you best. And as you change and evolve, you always kind of need that grounding, and I think your community always provide that perspective. So I think it's important to kind of continue to hit that home with athletes, to kind of let them know that the community is always that source of strength and perspective, regardless of where your athletic abilities take you. Those interpersonal relationships are truly fruitful, and I really want to kind of highlight that, and I continually cultivate that in all the programming and ventures that I participate in. So,
Absolutely.
That being said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Health Architect and joining me and Knight Jenkins for Beyond Sports and Fitness. We'll be coming to you guys soon with more topics and discussions around sports and fitness.
Tune in next time to stay updated as we discuss designing community health programs and launch new fitness projects centered around people and sports with Knight Jenkins, Beyond Sports and Fitness. Until next time, stay healthy and most importantly, stay happy.